This is the start of side 2 of the Enfield Talking newspaper. We now return to local news with Joan.
And how's this for sport? On rugby union, Enfield Ignatians extended their winning streak to 4 matches as a much-changed side edged to a 24-22 triumph at UCS Old Boys on Saturday to reach the quarterfinals of the Middlesex Bowl. Hadi Fayaz and Wes Warren scored tries for the visitors, with the rest of their points coming from the boots of Tom Price and Jordan Wilson. It was an opportunity for us to rotate the squad and rest a few players, said coach Emil Hertz. We made 10 changes, some of them positional, from the Ipswich game, and it was a chance for us to give some players valuable time in the game. Enfield Ignatians host Woodford in the league on Saturday.
And now for hockey. Southgate secured their long-awaited first win of the season in the Premier Division of the English Hockey League with an impressive 1-0 triumph at home to Surbiton on Saturday. Will Cosham scored the only goal of the game as the hosts moved out of the relegation zone ahead of a crucial trip to basement side Bowden on Saturday. However, Southgate ladies remain rooted to the foot of Division 1 of the South League after Saturday saw them suffer a 2-0 defeat at home to Maidenhead. Southgate ladies visit Havant on Saturday before going to Surbiton in the Women's Knockout Cup the following day.
Enfield Town failed to take the chance to move within a point of Ryman League Division 1 North table-toppers Grays Athletic on Saturday when they were forced to settle for a disappointing 1-1 draw from their trip to struggling Great Wakering Rovers. With Grays not in action over the weekend, informed Town would have been confident of increasing the pressure on the leaders by picking up maximum points against a team languishing in the lower reaches of the table. But despite taking the lead through Liam Hope's 16th minute goal and creating the better chances throughout the contest, a momentary lapse in concentration enabled Michael Pinder to grab an equaliser for the hosts early in the second half as Town slipped from 2nd to 4th.
And I have a sports item. Russ Williamson scored the only goal as Enfield 1893 overcame a host of squandered opportunities to beat London APSA at Goldsdown Road in the Essex Senior League on Saturday. As has been the case in so many matches this season, the eased failings in front of goal meant that they struggled to put away inferior opposition. But Williamson's 38th minute effort was enough to give them all 3 points as they climbed up into second place in the table ahead of last night's action.
Now here I have a letter from Barry James, and the address is supplied but not printed. On Friday, October the 7th, the Enfield Independent sister paper, the Haringey Independent, ran a story about house sales that should send a chill down the back of everybody who lives within a couple of miles of Pinkham Way. A couple planning to move to Berkshire had lost their buyer, who cited the proposed waste plant at Pinkham Way as the reason for withdrawing. The blight has already started, and everybody who lives in Muswell Hill, Fryan Barnet, New Southgate, Southgate Green, Broomfield and Bounds Green must now stop being complacent. There is substantial evidence that these plants create smells that can, with the right wind conditions, be smelled miles away. It appears that the proposed site at Pinkham Wood will have an 80-foot chimney which will ensure that everybody around gets a fair share of the smell and pollution. Do you know how near you live to Pinkham Wood? Just make a point of finding out, and you probably will be shocked how close it is. Don't be fooled into thinking that railway lines, golf courses, main roads and parks are an effective barrier. Smell and pollution transcend all such barriers. Moreover, once the blight sets in, no one will want to come and live within a mile or so of that proposed plant. Those already living within the area will find they are trapped in a home that can only be sold at a substantial discount, if it can be sold at all.
Now, a letter from Paul Mandel of Ullswater Road, Southgate. I wish in part to support, but also take issue with David Hughes, this was in the Advertiser letters on October 12th, when he suggests that all parents have the choice whether to walk or drive their children to and from school. I happen to live in the adjacent street to Mr. Hughes, and it appears that he is blissfully unaware of some of the problems many families in his locality face. Firstly, I agree with him that increasing a school's intake does not necessarily lead to increased traffic, and that walking to school is preferable. But what he does not appear to be aware of is that for many parents, doing the school run is not a choice. My son is 2 years old and attends St. Monica's preschool. It's a short walk from our house, half of it along Mr. Hughes's own street. In 2 years' time, he will start school proper. Next door to the preschool is St. Monica's Roman Catholic primary school. This appears to be a very good school, and my wife and I would love to be able to send our son there. However, as the school is heavily oversubscribed and neither of us is Roman Catholic, we would not be offered a place. 2 other primary schools are in reasonable walking distance, Walker and Hazelwood, which have both become very popular. This means that although close to us, we are now outside their catchment area. Enfield Council refuses to admit the problem and has effectively ruled out the possibility of another primary school in our locality. Unless the existing schools increase their intake significantly, we will be forced to look further afield for our son's schooling and will therefore have no choice other than to drive him there.
And now a letter from Paul D. Smith of the Enfield Liberal Democrats. Digital switchover, turning off the old analogue signal, is coming to London, but your viewers should beware. In many areas which have already switched over, unscrupulous people have been selling digital aerials and conning the elderly, especially into buying expensive new TVs which they simply don't need. Your readers should be aware of the following facts. In most of Enfield, residents will not need a new TV aerial to receive digital TV. The old one will do quite nicely. Residents may need a small digital box, but these can be fitted to any existing TV, regardless of the age of the TV. There is no need to buy a new TV. If in doubt, call the Switchover Help Scheme on 0800 40 85 900 or look at their website on www.helpscheme.co.uk.
And I have a letter from Councillor Chris Bond, who is the Cabinet Member Environment, Street Scene and Parks. He says, in response to Ms. Bishop Leggett's letter, car park will affect many, opinion October the 5th, Enfield Council does not undertake selling its assets lightly, and it is recognised that this car park is used, albeit only at weekends and only by users of the sports ground. The Council's traffic engineers have undertaken a parking generated by the sports ground and the availability of on-street parking in the surrounding area. They have also studied the road safety record in Barrowell Green. While the loss of the car park may lead to additional cars parking on street, this can be safely managed by the introduction of selective waiting restrictions on the narrow sections of Barrowell Green. The new North London Hospice Daycare Centre will provide its own car parking, and planning permission was granted on this basis. The additional parking provided by Sports Ground Car Park was noted, but was not an essential requirement. The Sports Ground is a short walk to Green Lanes, which is well served by the 329 bus route, so the alleged lack of public transport is hard to understand. No hard evidence was produced to suggest that this change of parking arrangements will adversely affect sports usage. Nevertheless, in response to concerns, a meeting was held with the sports clubs prior to the approval of the sale, offering new parking facilities to be incorporated inside the sports ground at the council's expense. This offer has not been taken up but remains open. Because of the government's spending cuts and the pressures of a rapidly rising population, the council has to make difficult and unwelcome decisions. It is our duty to assess the value of our property between its use to the community and the essential services that can be protected with the cash that could be raised from its sale. Regrettably, the sale of this asset for the benefit of the wider community is judged of more value than its limited use where alternatives are available. I hope this helps the debate.
Plans to sell off Southgate Town Hall for housing have been agreed by Labour councillors. The controversial planning brief to sell the 19th century building for housing, with the proceeds being used to refurbish the adjacent Palmer's Green Library, was agreed last Wednesday. Councillor Doug Taylor, leader of the council, said pressure in the borough to provide school places and new housing was quite overwhelming, and this would help relieve that. He added, in order to bring about first-rate library provision in Enfield, we have to have imaginative proposals. Palmer's Green Library is outdated, with insufficient accent for people with disabilities. The council will now seek a housing developer to convert the town hall off Green Lanes into housing to release the funds for the library revamp. The decision has attracted the attention of many residents around Palmer's Green and Southgate, including those who disagree with the idea of a housing development. But the council has argued that this is the best way to raise the money for the library improvements.
Entertainer Bruce Forsyth was knighted by the Queen on Wednesday. The Edmonton-born star was awarded the title in the Queen's Birthday Honours List, and the 83-year-old was given the honour at Buckingham Palace. Mr. Forsyth was educated at the Latimer School near to Victoria Road, where his family owned a garage. The Strictly Come Dancing host returned to the borough in 2009 to open the Millfield Arts Centre in Silver Street, Edmonton. Councillor Doug Taylor, leader of Enfield Council, welcomed the news, saying, "The whole borough is enormously proud of Bruce Forsyth, who was born and bred in Enfield, and the contribution he has made to the entertainment industry in Britain over the years. His knighthood is richly deserved, and the success he has achieved throughout his life shows what can be achieved through hard work and dedication."
Enfield's Youth Parliament elections have been hailed a resounding success after more than 9,000 young people cast their votes. Overall, 63.34% of eligible young people voted in the borough, electing 16 Youth Parliament members to represent Enfield. Members of the Youth Parliament work with councillors and council officers to help represent young people. Edmonton County School saw all 4 of its student candidates gain success in the elections. One of those, Yasmin da Costa, said, "It was quite a shock to hear that I'd been elected because all of the candidates were very professional, so it was a really proud moment for me. I hope to give young people a voice on issues that are important to them. I am really passionate about the rise in tuition fees and the loss of EMA money for students, so this is something that I will be focusing on." Yasmin felt that people could trust her and the other successful candidates from her school because of their knowledge of the area and their understanding of issues affecting young people. Isabel de la Tour, the teacher who organised the elections at the school, was at the Dugdale Centre last Friday to hear the winners announced. She said, "There was a really good atmosphere when the results were announced, and we were really pleased our 4 students got in." Councillor Afer Orhan, Cabinet Member for Schools and Children's Services, who was the returning officer for the elections, said, "It was fantastic. There was an electric atmosphere in the hall when I announced the winners. What is so good is the number of students and schools getting involved. It is such a great opportunity for young people to get involved in democracy, and this really sets them up for the future." For a list of the winning candidates, see www.enfield-today.co.uk.
And I have Monty Meth's column. He is the life president of the Enfield Over 50s Forum, and it's headlined, "Health Cuts Are the Hidden Truth." Every time you hear Messrs. Cameron and Lansley repeat their mantra, "The health budget is being increased," you need to shout loud and clear, "Not in Enfield, it isn't." The hidden truth is that NHS Enfield's target is to finish this financial year in April 2012 with a deficit of £18 million. Yes, you read that right, an overspend of £18 million. Not only must it not run up more losses than that, it has to make spending cuts this year of some £10 million to stem the losses at £18 million. Sarah Thompson, the new NHS Borough Director, has been parachuted into Enfield to do just that. Hence the sudden and brutal NHS withdrawal of £755,000 in grants to our local voluntary sector for providing vital health and social services. Although ministers keep talking about ring-fencing the NHS budget, pretending there are no cuts, the harsh reality is seen here at local level. More than 100 NHS Enfield jobs have been slashed already. Grandiose plans abandoned for a network of polyclinics. Do you remember them? Offering a variety of on-the-spot primary care services. Attention will now be focused on those GP surgeries, guilty of sending too many patients for hospital tests and admissions, the largest single source of NHS spending. At the same time, the number of patients waiting more than the recommended maximum 18 weeks for NHS treatment has soared by 48% in the past year. 1 in 4 hospitals failed to meet this target. There is, I know, deep uneasiness and concern about the future among almost everyone I speak with in the NHS. They feel too many top-down decisions are being made that will destroy the personal relationship and trust with patients. And they dread to think what will happen to the out-of-hours GP service, the next in line for reorganisation. We have been warned.
Filmmakers are targeting a Halloween 2012 release date for a new horror movie about the world-famous Enfield poltergeist. Preparations for the film, which is being produced by Brimsdown-based company Dead House Productions, are nearly complete, with filming due to start early next year. The big screen production will tell the story of the apparent paranormal activity in a Green Street council house in 1977, but will be set in the present day. Recordings at the house captured a variety of unexplained incidents that plagued Mother Peggy Hodgson and her 4 children, including banging on the walls and moving furniture, witnessed by police and journalists. Executive producer J. Stewart said that he wanted the film to be the rebirth of British horror and was aiming to break the American market. He said, "We are just wrapping up the financial side of the film and tying people down to contracts. There's not been anything out there for British horror since Danny Boyle made 28 Days Later, and we want to change that. We've had 500,000 hits on our Facebook page, and people from all over the world have been getting in touch, telling us it's about time that this story was told." Although the last recorded incident at the house took place in 1980, the story has continued to receive widespread media attention and inspired a BBC fake paranormal documentary, Ghost Watch, in 1992. Mr. Stewart added that he has a group of A-list celebrities wanting to take part, and that he wants to offer technical and manual jobs on the film to Enfield people in a bid to help the area after August's riots.
Spurs legend Paul Gascoigne, 44, was in Enfield town on Friday to meet fans and well-wishers. The former footballer, better known to fans across the world as Gazza, is on a promotional tour for his new autobiography, Glorious, My World, Football and Me, which offers an insight into the mind of one of the most colourful characters in football. The book features hundreds of photographs and defined Gazza's career from starting out at Newcastle United to moving to Tottenham, Lazio, Rangers, Middlesbrough and Everton. The midfielder enjoyed an illustrious career, including a notable 4-year spell at Spurs, which culminated in the club's FA Cup final victory in 1991 against Nottingham Forest. His autobiography also recalls the highs and lows of his time as an England player, including Italia 90, and helping the hosts to the semi-finals of Euro 96. The Star signed copies of his book, which went on sale last week at Waterstones in Church Street.
The future of a nature reserve in Winchmore Hill is secure after volunteers struck a deal with Enfield Council. Part of the 5-acre former sports field will be sold off for housing and £100,000 invested in helping Woodcroft Wild Space to grow and prosper. The council and volunteers from the Wild Space have also agreed to make part of the 5-acre former sports field an educational resource for schools and community groups. Earlier this year, the future of the site had been in doubt as negotiations stalled over granting a long-term lease to the volunteers who had nurtured the site since 2003. MP for Enfield Southgate, David Burrows, backed the volunteers' case, and now a management committee will be established between the council and volunteers to work out the site's future. Councillor Andrew Stafford, Cabinet Member for Finance, said, "This is a triumph of collaborative working and compromise. Because we witnessed the work that has gone in, we can see its worth, and that is why the Council is supporting this scheme." Councillor Doug Taylor praised the deal, saying, "I am optimistic for the future and we should aim to make this a template for what could be developed elsewhere in Enfield and the rest of the country. Mr. Burrows said, "Our campaign was for a long-term future for the wild space, and that has now been secured. We have to ensure Woodcroft Wild Space is here for generations to come, and I'm hopeful the decision will see that happen." Bob Liddell, chairman of Woodcroft Wild Space Limited, added, "We have been looking for a permanent solution for 8 years, and it now looks like we have got one. Now we need the community across Enfield to get involved. With the long-term future guaranteed and £100,000 in the bank, Mr. Laddell said getting large conservation grants was now an achievable aim."
A student from Enfield has become the 5th person to be evicted from this year's Big Brother house. 19-year-old Aidan Theobald entered the Channel 5 show in September, revealing he had a foot fetish and claiming to be a ladies' man. He lived up to his claim by forming a relationship with fellow contestant Rebecca. He hopes they will remain an item following his eviction. The former Enfield Grammar School pupil was booted off the show last Friday night after losing the public vote to his friend Anton. We've reached the end of our programme for this week. So from the team of
Joan,
Beverley, Ross, and myself, Lilian, with Colin and Cassandra on controls, it's goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Cheerio.